All right, welcome everyone. My name is Karen Brownlee, and I am the Adult Program Coordinator at the North Suburban YMCA in Northbrook, Illinois. And I am pleased to present Dr. Paul Nevin, who on my computer screen is up in my upper right-hand corner. But if you'll wave, Dr. Nevin, just so people can see you. Dr.
Hey
Nevin
everyone,
is here today. Thank you.
welcome.
And he will be offering a meditation series this month and then for the following 3 months in October, November, and December at 11:15 on the second Tuesday of the month. So I hope that you'll be able to join us each time, but you do not have to be able to join us each time. Today's program, as he mentioned if you were on the screen a little bit earlier, is going to be more of an introduction, and we'll sort of get started on meditation. And then the next 3 programs will be a little bit more meditation and a little bit less education about meditation. I will be on the whole time, but I'm going to take off my picture and just put up the YMCA logo so people will know that they're at the right place. And I thank you all for joining us today. You don't have to stay for the whole time. If by chance you need to leave early, that is okay. Dr. Nevin, how long do you plan to, do you want to have questions come during the session, at the end? What would you prefer?
We'll probably hold the questions until after the meditation at the end. I'll try to end with a 10 to 20 minute meditation and then questions.
Sounds good. All right, so if that works for everyone, I will let you take it away, Dr. Nevin. Thank you all for joining us today. I anticipate more people will join us, Dr. Nevin. So just keep going with what you're doing. Thank you all again. I'm going to get rid of my video, and I hope that you have a great meditation session with Dr. Nevin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Karen. Welcome, everybody, and welcome back to those of you who have joined us previously. If you were part of our group, when was the last one? I think the last one was in July. If you were part of that group, today's talk is going to be probably 80–90% a rerun for you because we're starting a series and it starts with the same talk that we did in July. Basically at the Y, we have been doing this for a few years now, and there's 2 basic kinds of formats that we've used. Most often we've done this standalone talk, which is called The Power of Meditation. And it's an introduction to meditation, a little bit of talking about what meditation is and isn't, a little bit about the science of meditation and what it's good for if you do it regularly. And then at the end, we spend a little bit of time, depending on how much time we have left, doing a sample meditation, sort of an experiential component that incorporates a handful of different approaches to meditation. We have also one time at the Y done a 4-part series like we're starting right now, which starts off with that basic foundational talk that we gave in July that we're going to redo today with the basic information and just a little bit of experiential stuff at the end. But then the next 3 in the series, which are going to be in October the 13th, November the 10th, I think, and I think it's December the 8th. I think it's the second Tuesday of each month going forward. Those 3 will be a little more experiential. We'll talk a little bit to introduce the focus of that day's experience, but the idea of those 3 is to introduce you to some traditional ways that people have approached meditation around the world and throughout time. Things like probably the next one will focus on the breath and maybe using other kinds of what I would call focal meditation, which means taking something as your focus, and then when your mind wanders, you bring it back. You can focus on your breath, you can focus on a word, you can focus on a candle flame. There's a lot of ways to use focal meditation. That will be the one in October. In November, I think we will probably, I'm not certain yet, but my guess is we'll focus on imagery and emotion as part of meditation practice. And then the last one in December, we're going to focus on more body-centered approaches, including an idea that is very common in the East, the idea of working with vital energy. The idea that there is a vital energy in the human being. This is underlying things like yoga, acupuncture, and various other herbal traditions and other things, is the idea that there's a vital energy that can be cultivated within human beings, and meditative traditions often try to work with that energy in a body-centered sort of way. So that's a brief overview of what we'll be doing for the next 3 sessions in October, November, and December. Today we're going to talk a little bit about meditation, what it is, the science of it, and then we're going to do a little practice at the end that incorporates a few samples of different ways of meditating. I want to start actually with a little 5-minute meditation. This is a musical meditation. We're just going to focus for 4 or 5 minutes on this music. It's not in English. It's in a language that is a part of meditative traditions in India called Sanskrit. And the word Shanti that you'll hear over and over again basically means peace. So what I want you to do is just listen to this music. Either close your eyes and listen to it, or if you feel more comfortable with your eyes open, just pick a point on your screen or on your desk or wherever you are and focus with your eyes half closed on that point to calm your mind a little bit. And as you hear the word Shanti, just feel the feeling of peace as best as you can cultivate a feeling of peace inside of yourself. This will be about 5 minutes.
Shanti, 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 Shanti. Shanti, 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 Shanti,
Pursue meditation
Shanti, Antariksham Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Papa Shanti, Ushadaya Shanti, Vanaspataya Shanti, Vishvedeva Shanti, Brahma Shanti, Sarvam 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 Shanti, Shanti Reva Shanti, Shanti Reva Shanti, Shanti Reva Shanti, 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 Shanti.
All right. Welcome back. I think the word Shanti is a good introduction to this talk. It's generally translated as peace, but one of my teachers told me that it specifically refers to a meditative peace, which is an awakened peace. And the distinction he would make is that oftentimes in the way that we use our mind, we alternate between an awareness that is a little bit tense, Like when we focus on something, we kind of have like a furrowed brow, and we're a little bit like focused in a way that feels a little bit effortful. Or we think of peace as something where we're zoned out. We might fall asleep, or it might involve alcohol, or it might involve zoning out in front of the TV or whatever. But we generally think of our consciousness is focused and we're tense, or our consciousness is unfocused and we're relaxed. Shanti is the idea that there's a meditative peace that can be cultivated where you are very awake, very alert, very mindful, but extremely relaxed and peaceful at the same time. So that's a good idea to hold as one of the things we're trying to cultivate in any meditative practice, but particularly in what is sometimes called Shanti Yoga or Shanti meditation. I want to start by talking just a little bit about me. I forget now what Karen said in introducing me. I'll keep this brief, but I'm a doctor of clinical psychology. My wife and I work in Bannockburn, or at least we usually do. Right now we're doing most things because of the COVID world. We're doing things through phone sessions and FaceTime and Zoom and stuff like that. But we are both doctors of clinical psychology, and we also both are trained at the Mayo Clinic to practice wellness coaching. So we're Mayo Clinic trained and certified wellness coaches, in addition to being doctors of clinical psychology. I also, separate from that, and actually overlapping with that, but also separate from that, I've been very interested in practicing and teaching meditation for a long time now. I think the first time I taught meditation was back in the mid to late 1970s when I first went off to school in Boston. And I've been doing it on and off ever since. It's a part of my practice as a clinical psychologist and a wellness coach. It's also something I've often done in the community like this through talks and sometimes through small groups that run for a while. I can tell you from my experience teaching meditation in all of those contexts that it is a power. It is a power to be reckoned with, that when people meditate regularly, you see changes in their lives. You'll need to experience that yourself to really believe it, but I will tell you at this point, we'll get into a little bit of the science later on here as part of this talk, and I will tell you that a lot of people who were skeptical 20, 30 years ago in the scientific community are at least a lot less skeptical now. You can see a lot of very positive things being said these days at Harvard Medical School and Johns Hopkins and Mayo Clinic and various other prestigious medical organizations and psychological centers and medical centers. There's really not a lot of question anymore about whether or not meditation has real scientifically provable effects on health, mental health, and well-being. Let's talk briefly, at least, about what is meditation, because that usually when you go to a talk like this, people will give you a quick sort of just definition of what meditation is. I'm going to take it to a little bit higher level than that and tell you all there is no such thing. Anyone who tells you that, they may be trying to simplify it for you, and that can be useful, but there is no agreed upon definition of meditation. What we refer to as meditation is mental techniques for developing consciousness that have been used throughout time and around the world. And in some cases, what people refer to as meditation can actually be very different things, even in some ways opposite things. In the Western tradition, the term meditation, which is an English word, obviously, I like to remind people that if you were to get in a time machine and go back and ask Buddha, what is meditation? He wouldn't know what you're talking about. He wouldn't even know what you were saying because he doesn't speak English. All right. And that is true of most of the meditation teachers throughout the East. They have no idea what meditation is because they don't use that word. So whenever we're referring to meditation from a Buddhist tradition or from an Indian tradition or from a Chinese tradition or from various other places, we're taking some word or words that they use and translating it into our word meditation. So what does our word meditation mean? Originally, it meant almost the opposite of what Indian or other Eastern meditative traditions mean. It meant thinking about something very deeply. If you look at the common usage of the word meditation in our culture, if you look at actual meditative practices that were done in monasteries and as part of, say, Judeo-Christian traditions or things like that, usually what they're talking about is focusing on something and thinking in a very rich and deep way about it. So for example, Christian mystics might meditate on the meaning of the crucifixion or something like that. or meditate on a word or a phrase from a gospel or something like that. That is very different from what is usually the Eastern view of meditation. I want to take a minute and read something for you. This is actually from a classic about yoga, and it's not specifically talking about meditation, but you could substitute the word yoga for meditation in this quote I'm going to read you. This is from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and it says, "Now the teaching on yoga begins. Yoga is the settling of the mind into silence. When the mind has settled, we are established in our essential nature, which is an unbounded consciousness. Our essential nature is usually overshadowed by the activity of the mind." So what is that saying? Usually what I just said the definition of meditation is thinking deeply about something. A lot of Eastern and Middle Eastern and ancient traditions, even Native American and other traditions from around the world, have practices of meditation that are almost the opposite of thinking deeply. It's about quieting the talking part of your mind. It's about, there's a part of our mind that has become very dominant in human beings to the point where it's almost obsessive, to the point where it's almost like we don't own it. It's not us. You can lie in bed and not be able to turn your own mind off. You can get worried about something and have trouble turning your own mind off or even down. Meditation, in many cases, is about learning to occupy and then gradually quiet that part of your mind. So instead of it constantly yapping at you and kind of dominating your consciousness, that settles down and you're able to sort of remember and experience a more total version of consciousness that you could say predates the verbal consciousness, the kind of consciousness that an animal would have or that a young child would have. And you can eventually integrate that with your talking mind so that you have the best of both. What we have right now for most human beings is that talking part is very useful for certain things, but it's a little out of control. It gets a little crazy and a little bossy, and it won't quiet down. And the other part of our consciousness is very useful for other things, but it can't do the things the talking mind can do. We don't want to lose the talking mind. We just want it to calm down and partner better with the other part of our mind so that we have access to both. There's a Chinese philosopher, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but the spelling of it is Chung Tzu. And he said once, "Where is the man who has forgotten words? He's the one I would like to have a word with." And I think that captures what a lot of Eastern approaches would say about meditation. We're trying to quiet down the more obsessive, yapping, talking, word world part of our mind and remember a more experiential, a more open, a more relational, a more connected to everything part of our mind that is always there in the background. A part of our mind where you might say a lot of joy and peace and positive emotions really live. The part of our mind that does most of the talking is maybe more intended to be a tool that we use than a place where we live all the time. It's good to be in touch with the other part of our mind that is a little more able to be comfortable in its own skin, a little more able to just be instead of do. But we want both. So meditation is about doing practices, or at least initially, there's a lot of things that meditation can be. But a lot of what we're going to mean when we talk about meditation here, even though it can mean many different things in many different traditions down through time and around the world, a lot of what we're going to focus on here are techniques that allow you to quiet the mind through some technique so that you feel more of your whole mind, including the nonverbal mind. That's a tentative, it's not quite a definition, but it's a tentative start on one for the purposes of our talk today. Practically speaking, most of the meditation that has been studied, most of the meditation that you'll see in scientific studies is what I would call focal meditation, which we're going to talk about a little bit more in directly in our next session in October. But focal meditation is just what it sounds like. It's you focus on something. It's you take something as your focus and you gently stay with that focus in the present moment. And when your mind gets distracted, you gently bring it back. So you can focus on your breath. You could focus on a word that you're saying silently to yourself, or the first line of a phrase or a prayer. You could focus on a candle flame. You could, in theory, focus on just about anything. You could pick up a stone or a leaf in the fall and sit with it in your lap and focus on that. You could focus on the sound of the birds chirping. But whatever you're doing, you stay aware in the present moment. You're not so much thinking about it or talking about it. You focus on this thing, and then when you find yourself, which you inevitably will, when you find yourself off thinking about what you're going to have for lunch or how stupid meditation is or whatever else your mind is yapping about, you bring it back. You just gently, non-judgmentally keep coming back to your focus. So let's talk a little bit about some of the science of meditation. There is at this point a ton of science about meditation. And in fact, I think one of the things that has convinced many of the skeptics in the scientific community in the last few decades is our science has actually gotten better at documenting in a physical way that is impressive to the scientific community some of the things that go on in meditation. I can't in this short a talk get into too much of the details of that, but I will say one big part of it is that they've gotten better at measuring chemistry in both our body and in our brains. Very important is they've gotten better at scanning the brain. There are techniques now that will allow you to put gear on your head that will scan your brain and show what activity is going on where, even while you're doing something like an activity or having a conversation. And those kinds of brain scans have shown that even in a 10, 12-week meditation program, there are literally structural and other kinds of changes that happen in the brain. There are documentable, repeatable things that happen in terms of your stress system in your brain and how it reacts to things, aging, and various other things. In general, there's a long list of, let me mention, by the way, before I forget, I think Karen will put up at the end the graphic that she had at the beginning, which has my email. Normally when I do this talk, I hand people out some handouts to give them some basic scientific information and some resources and things like that. If we forget to get to it, let me give you, okay, I'm getting a thumbs up from Karen. So we will see that email, and you can contact me. If you want to just contact me through my email, tell me that you participated in this class, I will send you the things I usually send to Stanzas. But one of the things I usually do is a long list of things that have at least some support in the scientific literature in terms of positive benefits. I'm just going to mention a few. There's a variety of ways that meditation improves your general health, a variety of ways that improves your mental health, a variety of ways that it improves your performance, makes you better at work, makes students better at school, makes athletes better at their performance. A variety of ways that it improves your quality of life. In other words, it doesn't just take you from bad to okay, it takes you from okay to thriving, to feeling like you're really connecting to the meaning of life and the most positive experiences. It helps with sleep, it reduces anxiety, depression, pain, a variety of other things. I just saw a study, this is not a new study, but it was new to me, I just saw it recently on a Harvard site, Harvard Health Blog, I think it was called, where they reviewed this study comparing meditation to vacation. And what they did is they had people in the same place participating in the study. So they're at the same resort location, but some of them are doing a meditation retreat and others are taking the whole time to hang out at the pool or go golfing or do whatever they want to do for their vacation. So you would think that people who are meditating are actually doing some work and aren't having as much fun. But if you look at the end of this meditative period, at the end of I forget how long the week, it was a week or 2 weeks or whatever. At the end of that period, there are similar documentable benefits for both groups. But what was the kicker was that if you look 10 months later, the people who just had a vacation are back to their baseline. They're similarly as stressed or as distressed as they were when they started their vacation. Their change was like a rubber band that you stretch it out and it comes back to its old shape. The people who did the meditation retreat, which was a combination of, I think, mindfulness meditation and maybe some yoga, I'm not sure, they're still showing the same benefits 10 months later. So in a way, learning to meditate is quite literally scientifically a permanent vacation. It's like getting the benefits of vacation and they never go away. They just grow. I also want to mention, we're getting close to where I'd like to get into the practice so that we have a little time to experience this ourselves and then some time for questions. But let me end by saying here that in terms of the science of meditation, It's very controversial these days to say anything about your immune system because of COVID. So please, I'm not trying to practice medicine without a license here. You can talk to your doctor if you have any questions. My feeling as a mental health professional and as a wellness coach trained at the Mayo Clinic, and as someone who has additional certifications in mind-body medicine, I think it is a shame that people are not being told more about how to manage stress through meditation during this period in our history. There is some pretty clear evidence from not just one study, one fly-by-night study, or one questionable study, but from many studies where they will literally, I'll give you an example of one that was very well done. They take hundreds of people, they measure who is stressed or who isn't stressed, or in another version of this, they actually do things to give people some amount of stress through asking them to do mental gymnastics with some sort of exercise or whatever. But basically you end up with two groups, those who have stress and those who are less stressed. And then you actually give them a cold virus. And the effects of stress are dramatic. There's no question that stress impacts your immune system. It would take too long to talk about why that happens or exactly how that happens, but it is absolutely documentable that stress, and particularly chronic stress, not even severe stress, it's not so much important on a scale of 1 to 10, it's not important that your stress be at a 7, 8, 9, 10. Stress at a 4, 5, 6 over a longer period of time is actually more damaging to your immune system. The kind of regular day-to-day stress that we deal with is more important. And right now we have a situation where everybody is generally more stressed. You're seeing right now in the statistics coming out now 3 times as much depression, anxiety, stress, and various other problems because of this whole period of COVID and so on. But what a lot of people don't know, because they're trying so hard to wear masks and to wash their hands and to stay isolated and everything else, but a lot of people don't know that in these studies, stress alone somewhere between doubles and quadruples your chance of catching a virus, a cold virus or a flu virus. It's a pretty dramatic difference for no one to be talking about it, in my opinion. So what is the good news version of that? The effects are within, in some cases, as soon as you do a meditative practice, your immune system starts to change in some ways. By the time you've been doing it daily for weeks or months, particularly if you've done it for 10 weeks or longer, there are marked changes that will show up on things like this testing of how you respond to a virus. So before we hit the fall in full force, before we get into a period here where we still have COVID and we're starting to have the flu on top of it, if you were to start a meditation practice and try to do something close to every day, doing either a relaxation or a meditative practice every day, you might be, I'm not making any medical promises here, but you might be increasing your basic ability to ward off any threat to your immune system. So it would be a good thing to start now if you've been playing with the idea of starting it. With that, there's some other things I could say, but I want to give us a little bit of a chance to do an actual practice here. In this practice, I'm going to be combining a few different meditative techniques. We're going to start with a meditation that is like a focal meditation using the breath. Then we're going to move into what I would call a progressive relaxation or a guided relaxation where you go through different parts of the body and relax them. And then we may focus at the end, depending on how the time goes, on a couple of other things, either imagery or emotion. But know that this is a kind of a sampling of a few different things that people might do in meditative practices. Right now, don't worry too much about details of things like posture or whatever else. Wherever you're sitting is fine. If you prefer to close your eyes, that's probably better for most people. But if that's uncomfortable for you, you can just pick a spot and look at a spot. The goal is to not have the talking part of your mind too active, and your eyes are very connected to that. So the more you can either close your eyes at least halfway and look at something, or close your eyes completely and focus internally, the more you're going to be able to quiet your mental chatter. There is no real doing this wrong. So don't worry. An essential part of meditation is to take a rather experiential, non-judgmental attitude. If you do it regularly, everything will come out in the wash. You don't have to worry about, oh, am I breathing right? Am I doing this right? Am I focusing right? Don't worry about that. That's anti-meditation. Meditation is about keeping a relaxed focus, a non-judgmental focus, as much as possible staying as wordlessly as you can with your experience instead of talking to yourself too much about what's going on. Let the talking part of your mind just calm down like a light on a dimmer switch being turned down, and focus more on what you are directly experiencing in the present moment. If your mind starts to wander, that doesn't mean that you made a mistake. That's part of the practice. Just as your mind wanders, go, oh, my mind is wandering. I'll bring it back and come back to whatever the focus is. Our beginning focus is going to be on your breath. And to begin with, don't worry about changing your breath at all. Just feel your breathing. Just let yourself come to an awareness experientially of your breathing. You can feel your lungs going in and out, up and down. The feeling of the breath coming out your nostrils. You can breathe in whatever way is comfortable, but probably if it's comfortable for you, breathing through the nose is a little more meditative, a little more likely to activate the part of our brain and body that relaxes. I'm going to leave you for just a minute or so to just focus on the breath and be in the present moment with your breathing. You're not trying to do anything, you're just being. Now gently, without forcing anything, begin to allow your breathing to become a little slower and a little deeper. If you find it easier, you can count to 4 or 6 as you breathe in. And then when you breathe out, make the out breath a little bit longer than the in breath. So if you breathe into 4, breathe out to 6. Now we're going to move on from the breathing portion of the meditation and begin to focus on the body. I want you to begin by just feeling your feet. Just get a sense of your feet planted on the floor and feel that your feet are relaxing. Don't worry about how to do that. Just allow yourself to relax as much as you can, as gently as you can, as if all of the muscles of your feet are releasing, becoming more relaxed, more peaceful. You may feel nothing at all. You may feel a weight or a lightness. a tingling, a warmth, whatever you feel is right for you. But we're giving your feet the suggestion that they can relax deeply now. Allow that feeling now to come up into your ankles. All of the muscles of your feet and your ankles are relaxing deeply. And somehow as you relax each body part, the intelligence of that part of your body is coming into perfect balance, healing whatever needs to be healed. Anything too tight is being loosened. Anything too loose is being toned up. Anything too hot is being cooled. Anything too cold is being warmed. Your feet and your ankles are being tuned like the string on a guitar. Now feel this feeling come up to your knees, all through your lower legs, from your knees down through your shins and calves. Your ankles and your feet are all relaxing. A positive feeling is awakening in all of these cells. Everything is coming into tune. Everything is coming into balance. Now allow this feeling to come up through your thighs and all the way up to your waist. All the muscles and all body parts from your waist down are relaxing deeply. A deep healing is awakening. All the muscles are relaxing in a sense of living peace, that awakened peace of Shanti that I talked about before. It's beginning to awaken and feel so good in all of the parts of your body, from the waist down. Now allow this feeling to start to spread up into your torso, up your spine, up through your lower torso, your stomach, your intestines, your lower back, up through your heart and lungs, embracing all of the internal organs. Your heart is deeply relaxed. Your lungs are deeply relaxed. And as you relax this center of your body, your emotions begin to relax as well. A feeling of emotional peace enters into you, as if all of your emotions were being balanced and tuned like strings on an instrument. Anything that no longer serves you emotionally, whether it happened yesterday or a month ago or in your earliest days of childhood, it's being released now. Like something you check the freshness date on and throw out because it's no longer fresh. You only keep those emotions that are serving you and bringing you some sort of positive experience or some message that is useful to you. Only constructive emotions are being organized, put into a new order. Like clearing out drawers or clearing out the refrigerator or clearing out a closet, you have a feeling of spaciousness in your feelings, an openness, as all of these old things that you no longer need are somehow just released into the earth. Feel now this relaxation spreading down your shoulders, through your biceps, your upper arms, your triceps, through your elbows, down through your forearms, and out to your fingers and your thumb. Feel the very centers of your palms relaxing. All of your muscles and all parts of your body from your neck down are now relaxing deeply, getting a deep sleep, a much needed rest, hitting a reset button on healing processes and growth processes, releasing any habitual stresses or tensions or resistance to life. All parts of your body, your bones, your organs, your blood circulation, your nervous system, your muscles, everything is being cleansed, balanced, and a deep healing power is awakening in all of these parts. Now feel this feeling spread up into your neck and head. Your face is relaxing. Your eyes are relaxing. Your jaw, teeth, and tongue relaxing deeply. Your scalp and your brain are relaxing. All of your thoughts and beliefs are relaxing. And as we did with the heart, now there's a cleansing happening where anything not needed, any beliefs that no longer serve you, any ideas that are not constructive in your life in this moment are somehow being released, untied like knots, freed and released, so that only the thoughts that serve you constructively will remain. The clearing out of this part of your being leaves you with a feeling of spaciousness in your heart and mind. And you feel now a new inner marriage between your heart and your mind. Your thoughts and your feelings are integrating and working together brilliantly. In your whole body, from the tip of your toes and fingers up to the top of your head, there's a deep relaxation, a deep peace. And you begin to realize that healing and growth are simply more powerful when you're relaxed. Stress and tension take you to a place in your brain and body where you're dealing with an emergency for the moment. And everything else is turned off, almost like when a Navy ship goes to battle stations. People are very good at battle, but nobody's doing anything else. In the same way, when you are stressed, even if it's a moderate stress that's chronic, you're not healing yourself as effectively, or growing as effectively, or cleansing as effectively. And now releasing all of this unnecessary tension, freeing yourself of the habit of tension, being mindful and letting go of unconscious tension, you are inherently awakening and empowering your healing, your growth, and your cleansing. Any kind of physical disorder that has been bothering you will begin to heal and repair more effectively. Depression and anxiety will be reduced, stress will be reduced, pain will be reduced. Your basic feeling of well-being will be enhanced and will grow, even from this day forward, and especially if you continue to do practices like this on your own. You realize that healing is a natural force and not something you need to think about. If you cut your arm, you don't have to know how to heal it. It heals by itself. And the same is true for your heart and your mind. Things heal by themselves if it's not blocked. Tension is what blocks it. The more you relax, the more a powerful healing force is released in you. Now, just as you would clean a dish and then rinse it clean with water at the end, we're going to rinse the stress out of our bodies at the end of this practice, and then do a couple of things just to finish up. But for right now, imagine, if you can, that your whole body is being rinsed clear, starting at the crown of your head. If it helps, you can use the image of water as if you were standing under a waterfall. Or if you like the image of light, feel as though you're under a waterfall of light. And feel that as it pours into you, this water or light, it cleanses the stress out of your head, down through your spine, out your fingers, down through your legs, out your feet, and down into the earth. And any discordant energy is rinsed clean and released into the earth, where it will be remade and rejuvenated, never to hurt you or anyone else again. Feel the freshness of being sparkling clean in your whole body and mind and heart. Now we're going to end this practice in this relaxed state. You are more in touch with your whole mind, and your whole mind is very wise. So we're going to do a brief practice of asking your inner self, what would be one thing that you could do going forward that would dramatically improve your life? And just see what your inner self answers. As we finish up, don't rush right back to opening your eyes, but first wiggle your fingers or your toes a little bit, sort of come back to your awareness of your body. And when you're ready, slowly blink your eyes open and come back to your full presence in this room. All right, welcome back. Karen, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
I don't
Yeah, I'll put
know
my video back on
what's
as well.
our
There we go.
ability to open to questions here, but if there's a way to open to questions, we can do that.
Yep. So if you, I muted everybody just so that we wouldn't have background noise. So if you can unmute yourself, sometimes I can unmute people and sometimes I can't. So feel free to unmute yourself. I hope that everyone is feeling good after that wonderful meditation session. And if you have questions, feel free to ask questions of Dr. Nevin. Does anybody have any? Oh, Alice gave us a thumbs up. Thanks,
Thumbs up.
Alice. Well, that's easy.
All right.
I have a question.
I will also say, if Karen, can you show? Do you want me to say my email?
Oh, yeah.
Or do you want to show
Let me
that
share my
graphic
screen again. Give me a second. Let me call up the PowerPoint. I was a very bad meditator and I was working the whole time.
Oh,
So I was not
Karen.
meditating. Shame on me. But let me.
Well, we got to get work done too.
Yeah, you got to get it